Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. My name is Sumaya bint Mahmoud Mim and I am from Group 1, and on behalf of my group mates, I will be presenting to you about qualitative and quantitative research. We will aim to define the quantitative and qualitative methods in scientific research, discuss two researches that applied each of the methods mentioned above, summarize both the researches separately with a proper overview of each. Lastly, differentiate between qualitative research and quantitative research. So, what is quantitative research? Quantitative research is done to test a theory and ultimately support it or reject it. It involves numerical data, it has no biasness, it is precise, and scientifically objective and rational. Qualitative research is an empirical research where the data are not in the form of numbers. Qualitative researchers try to describe and explain events and experiences rather than laboratory scientific experiments. They do not include numeric data, rather it involves naturalistic methods and questions such as how and why, and the mode of observation includes surveys, interviews, and more. Now, let's look at one quantitative research carried to test the effect of caffeine on the body fat and lipid metabolism of rats fed on high-fat diet. This research was done to see if caffeine could be an efficient ingredient to prevent fat gain or obesity in humans. Obesity has become a public health concern as it can lead to hypertension, diabetes mellitus, and more. The purpose of the study was to clarify the relationship between the caffeine dose and its effect on body fat under the influence of a high-fat diet. This research included two experiments. In the first experiment, they tested for the relationship between caffeine dose and change in body fat mass, body fat percentage, serum and hepatic lipid parameters, and the excretion of fecal lipid of the rats. So what they did was they chose 4 weeks old rats and caged them individually in a room with controlled environment. The rats were given free access to tap water and standard diet for a week. After 7 days, they were divided into 4 groups and pair-fed with an experimental diet containing caffeine. After 21 days, samples were taken from blood, adipose tissue, feces, and liver of the rats. Note that pair-fed is a technique where amount of food provided to a control group of mice is matched to that consumed by the experimental group. This is done to determine the effect of caffeine on body fat percentage. The results were recorded in a table. It was observed that body fat decreases when the dose of caffeine provided increases. The results showed that caffeine intake does suppress the accumulation of body fat. Therefore, experiment 1 strongly supported the anti-obesity action of caffeine. In the second experiment, they tested the effect of caffeine dose on serum concentrations of catecholamines. Here, they took 6 weeks old rats and treated them in similar conditions as experiment 1. After 7 days, the rats were divided into 2 groups and orally administered with distilled water and caffeine of 5 mg per kg. Then, blood samples were taken every 30 minutes until 180 minutes and were observed using HPLC method. The results of each catecholamine were constructed on separate graphs, and it was observed that the level of serum increased within 30 minutes after caffeine consumption and gradually dropped to normal level. Thus, the experiment 2 also proved that caffeine induces lipolysis, which releases catecholamines, resulting in anti-obesity effect. Now, moving on to qualitative research. One research was done on perceptions and knowledge of caffeinated energy drink or CEDs. This research was done because there were growing concerns regarding CED consumption among youth. Before we dive into the research, I'd like you to remember the two terms, focus group discussions and grounded theory approach. Focus group discussions gather people from similar backgrounds or experiences to discuss a specific topic of interest, and grounded theory approach is a method that involves the construction of hypotheses through collecting and analysis of data. Here, 4 FG groups of young people aged around 12 to 18 years old were interviewed in 2 cities of Canada. It was a semi-structured interview where questions were open and new ideas could be brought up during the interview. The interview lasted for 90 minutes and was audio recorded. The data analysis was done by using grounded theory approach. The results showed that the youth had little idea on how harmful the CEDs were, as the cautionary statements were difficult to read on the bottles of the beverages because of its design, and it was concluded that public needed to be educated more about the potential risks of CED consumption. Now, if we want to differentiate both the researches to confirm which one is qualitative and which one is quantitative, we can observe that the method used in obtaining data in qualitative was by using a semi-structured interview, whereas quantitative used structured statistical methods. In qualitative research, data analysis was done using grounded theory approach, and in quantitative, the data analysis depended on the numerical outcomes. The key features of qualitative research was that qualitative researchers collected data by conducting interviews, whereas large sample sizes were used as a key feature to generalize results in quantitative approach. The strength of qualitative research is that researchers can decipher important relationships, causes and effects of a research which are often missed in scientific inquiries. However, its limitations are that this type of researches cannot be relied on fully and the situations or events cannot be replicated. On the other hand, the strengths and limitations of quantitative research is that the study can be repeated and highly reliable results can be obtained, but larger sample sizes are needed for more accurate analysis. That's all for today. Thank you very much for being with us till the end of the presentation.